Welcome to another episode of the Ultimate Freedom Teachings video series.
Welcome to another edition of Friday Q&As. This week, the question that I want to address is, Robert, and again, like so many of the questions I've answered recently in the video series since it began, this is a question that I've gotten a lot. There's a pattern that many people have asked this question, and the question is, what do you do? How do you deal with it if you're just absolutely fed up with feeling negative emotions all the time in your life? I'm just so tired, people will say to me, of feeling angry or depressed or frustrated or insecure or fearful. All these things that we call negative emotions. They overwhelm me. I feel them too much. What am I supposed to do if I've just had it with that? I cannot deal with it. I cannot stand it anymore. Okay, I could spend hours talking about this. If you go to my YouTube channel, and the link should appear on your screen if that's not where you already are watching this video. There's a series of videos that I have there that go into more detail of what I'm going to talk about here. I also go into more detail in the Ultimate Key to Happiness book, and you'll see an image of that appearing on your screen right now. And then I go into much more detail on all of it, including extending into other aspects of life in the Ultimate Key to Freedom teachings. So I'm just going to sketch with broad strokes here, speak in generalities, and be pretty brief just to address this at that kind of a level. And then to whatever degree you want to go deeper, you can go deeper. The way we're brought up, we are taught there's positive emotions and there's negative emotions. The positive ones feel good. We like them. We want to experience as many of them as possible, and let's call it as big, as much of it as possible. And then there's the negative emotions that are the bad ones, and they feel bad, and we don't want to feel them. And we're in a constant struggle of a negative one is up and trying to make it disappear and be replaced by a positive one. Or a positive one's up, and then it disappears, and then we try to get the positive one back. So for most of us, not everybody, but most of us, we're in this constant struggle with our emotions. The good ones don't seem to last very long, so we're in a struggle to get them back. And as this question points to, the negative ones are present so much, and then we try to get rid of them, or muffle them, or repress them, or whatever word you want to use, but either make them go away, or make them smaller, or hide them, or whatever else it is, so we don't have to feel bad all the time. My bias, my experience is, as long as you hold to be true what you were taught, there really are positive emotions. There really are negative emotions. The positive ones really do feel good. The negative ones really do feel bad. And then the fantasy, the desire, the hidden possibility there is someday you can get to the point where all the bad ones disappear and all that's left is the good ones. And then hopefully more, stronger, intense, whatever positive ones, because that's what it's all about. So the fantasy is, the desire is, although it usually isn't spoken, there really is positive, there really is negative. Someday I'll get rid of all the negatives and I'll only experience the positives. And my bias is, my experience is, my guess is your experience is, and certainly the experience of the people asking this question is, you don't ever win that war. The negatives never just disappear and only the positives are left. It never happens. It's an endless battle. And if it appears that the negatives have disappeared, they've just kind of been hidden, muffled, repressed, reduced a little bit in intensity, but they don't ever really disappear. My bias, there can be exceptions to everything. But if you look at the vast majority of people and their experience of emotions, positive and negative, the negative never go away, and you don't have any control over it. You don't have any control over when the positives appear and when they disappear and how long they stay and how long they feel. You have no control in general. There are exceptions and there are techniques and different things that supposedly can change a negative into a positive or make it go away or whatever else it is, but in general, most people are in an endless struggle with their emotions, fighting the negatives, trying to get the positives back, and losing. That was my story for the vast majority of my life. At the time of this recording, which is August 2015, I'm 58 years old. And I would say I struggled in exactly that way for 52, 53 maybe, 54 years of my life. Trying to make the negatives go away, stop them, trying to bring more positive, battling this, and feeling powerless and being caught up in these huge emotional storms of the negatives that would sweep me up and shake me all about, and I couldn't control any of it, and it felt awful at the time. That was my story. And what I discovered, and what I now teach in various ways, is there's no way to win that particular game. You can't. It was set up to create failure. The only way to win, just using that language, you know what I mean. The only way into experiencing what I call true joy or true happiness, the only way out of feeling negative emotions all the time, feeling bad all the time, and what do I do about this, and how can I feel good, to get off that treadmill, to get off that whatever, dogs on the track forever chasing the rabbit that they never catch, is to be in a truthful, with a capital T, relationship with emotions, to get off the track, to get off the treadmill, to be in a truthful relationship. And what that means, and I get that on first blush this may not make sense to you, but what I will tell you is you can experience what I'm about to say. I have, thousands of other people all over the world have too, and we're not special. It's not that there's something special about me and a few other people and you can't do it. But on first blush, this may seem impossible, doesn't make sense, crazy, whatever. But the reality is, there is no such thing as positive emotions that feel good and negative emotions that feel bad. There aren't positive and negative emotions. There's just emotions. And emotions are inherently, you could either say all positive or you could say neutral. Neutral meaning not good, not bad, just what they are. That's the truth, and you can experience this. The fact that we have certain emotions and we call them positive and we put a word on it, like exciting, excited, happy, peaceful, serene, adrenaline rush for an intense one. When we name something as one of the positive ones, one of the goodies, and feel good, and then we say that one feels good, and when we take certain other emotions that we feel and we have names for them, like anger, frustration, depression, fear, and then we say those feel bad, those are all stories. They're not true. They're hypnotic, mesmerizing stories. And the way I talk about this, and again, you can get more detail in the ways that I talked to you earlier in the video, is with emotions, there's two things happening. There's what I call the pure, raw experience, which is the actual emotional energy, whatever you want to call it, that's appearing. And I show that as a fist. There's the pure, raw experience of the emotion itself. What's actually happening inside of you in general is how you experience an emotion. It's happening inside of you. There's the pure, raw experience, and then there's the story about it. And the story includes a name, and the story includes a positive, negative, good, bad, pleasurable, painful judgment. So you got the story, you got the pure, raw experience, and all of the emotions at the pure, raw experience level never feel bad. They're never painful. They're never negative. They're never awful. Pure, raw experience of emotions is always fine, pleasurable, can be appreciated, is enjoyable. And then the story comes in with the name and the positive, negative. The negative is where the problem is. And then they fuse together. They bond together. And all of a sudden we think this pure, raw experience of emotion really does feel good, and it really is happy, peaceful, serene, excited, whatever. And this emotion really is fear, anger, depression, frustration, and it really does feel bad and get me the hell out of it. The stories are so hypnotic. The stories are so mesmerizing, and they seem so obvious because we're conditioned over and over and over as we're growing up. We learn this, and we accept it without question by design. It's what I call a phase one construct. That we believe these things, and we're programmed with these things, and we accept these things without question. But what I discovered is it is possible for this to happen. And to just experience the pure, raw experience of emotion and not experience a name and not experience a judgment and just enjoy it. And by the way, there's a lot more on what I'm about to say in the other places that I talked about, the Ultimate Key to Happiness book, the videos that you can find on YouTube within the Ultimate Freedom Experience that's offered live and also online. There's a lot more on this, but I'll just plant the seed here in this video. You've already experienced this. It's not some new skill you got to develop. It's not something you got to earn your way or evolve your way to or whatever. You experience this all the time. Every time you watch a movie, every time you read a really great novel, if you play video games, every time you play a video game, if you watch certain TV shows, if you ride certain rides at an amusement park, if you watch or play sports, what happens all day, all experience, the whole 2 hours you're watching a movie, the whole, let's say, 15 hours you're reading a great novel, that you're watching TV shows or doing these other things that I'm talking about or listening to music, you experience the pure, raw experience of the emotion, no story, no judgment. And you love that. When this happens and you're just experiencing the pure movement of energy, as I call it, that's what an emotion really is, it's always great. The only problem is in the story that has the name and the judgment. And when that goes away and you're just experiencing this, which you do when you watch movies, you do when you read novels, you do when you watch TV, you do when you're watching sports, you do when you're listening to music or playing sports, when this happens and you're just experiencing the truthful, what the emotion really is without the story, it's all awesome. And in fact, I would argue experiencing emotion without the story is one of the most enjoyable, precious, cherished, enjoyed, valued experiences that we all humans love. And what we seek most is to experience all of the emotions, a wide variety of emotions, the more the better, but without the positive, negative, and of course the negative is the big problem, without the negative stories and judgments and names, and that's possible and that's doable and that's part of what happens when ultimate freedom awakens. And that's the only solution. That's the only solution. As long as you really do believe there's positive and there's negative, the positive are good, the negative are bad, I got to find a way to make the negatives go away so I can only experience the positives. It'll never happen. You will always struggle. You will always have the negatives that are appearing and you will always be struggling with them. The only true solution, lasting, permanent transformation solution, whatever, all of this is for this to happen, to get into a truthful relationship with emotions, which is to experience what's really there, what's really happening, which means the pure, raw experience of emotion without the story. And then, just like you experience with movies, novels, and the other things I talked about, all the emotions, the more the merrier, the bigger the better, without the stories, is supremely enjoyable. So that's what I'm going to say here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for stopping by. Love it, hate it, agree with it, disagree with it, think I'm nuts, think I'm brilliant, whatever, think it's helpful, crazy, I'm never going to listen to this guy again, whatever. I welcome your comments beneath this video, wherever you're watching it. And if you did find this useful, thought-provoking, helpful, supportive, interesting, whatever, please share the love with others in your sphere of influence, however you feel moved to do that. Okay, see you next week. Bye-bye for now.
If you'd like to get more information on what you just discovered, go ahead and click on the Learn More button that you'll see appearing in a few seconds.